Hello yogis. This class is going to be a level 1-2 Hatha style, focused on skill in squat variations. So Utkatasana or chair pose is a version of squat, malasana is a deeper version of squat, and even warrior 1 and warrior 2 have one leg in a half squat. So bringing some intelligence and varied load into those positions can kind of make the hips strong and capable in many ways. You will need 2 blocks, and you may need a strap. And if you are still working on balance, or you have trouble even you touching the blocks in forward folds, then standing forward folds, then you may need a chair or a wall nearby. So just be aware, and I will give options as those things come. We are going to begin in Virasana Pose, or Hero's Pose. So if your knees bother you when you sit between the heels, you can roll up a towel and put it behind your knees. You can sit on a block or 2. But if you are okay to sit all the way to the floor, then your knees will be about 1 inch or 2 apart. Your feet are wider than your hips. And then take your hands and smash your calf muscles down and out to the sides to kind of create space for your knees before you sit down between the heels. And then take a gander at your feet and make sure that your toes are pointing straight back so that you're not sickling the toes in and around your body, and they're not penguining out to the sides. So make sure that you can find the ability to generate force through all 10 toenails into the floor, and that should tell you whether you are in a relatively balanced and secure position. And then reach down and manually separate your sit bones, so pull the flash of your buttocks back and apart, and then sit back down so that you feel your sit bones in contact with the floor or the block. And then begin to close your eyes. And start to tune in to your breath, arriving on your mat and allowing everything else to just drop away. And as you turn your attention to your breath, try to even out the inhales with the exhales so that they're equal in duration. And perhaps work to lengthen the pause at the top of the inhale and the pause at the bottom of the exhale. And as you deepen your breath, try to make sure that you are breathing equally into the front and back body, and that you're breathing all the way down to the pelvic floor. On your next exhale, exhale fully, pause. We'll inhale together for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pause at the top and feel that sense as though almost your head were like a helium balloon. It was just going to take off into the air. And then exhale for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. At the bottom of the exhale, pause. And feel the pelvic floor. It lifts away from the floor actually on the exhale, but feel that sense of grounding that provides you. And then inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Feel the lift off and hold. And exhale 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause and feel grounded. Inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and pause at the top. And exhale for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and pause at the bottom. One more. Inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Spine nice and tall at the top. And exhale for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and pause at the bottom. And return to your natural breath and just tune into the quality of your mind right now. Perhaps it's a little bit quieter than when you first arrived on your mat. And in this quiet space is a good time to set an intention for yourself, for your class today. Whatever it is that you ask of your practice, ask it now. And then hold that intention softly. So don't grip at it. Don't hold it so tightly that you become married to whether you achieve that thing or not. It's just an intention. It's a guiding light. Open your eyes, and on your next exhale, tuck your tailbone strongly and round your spine like cat pose. And then on your inhale, rock forward towards your pubic bone, arch your spine, maybe look up, inhale, cow spine. Exhale, round cat spine, and inhale, cow spine. One more exhale, and inhale. And then sit upright. And for this next move, I'm going to ask you to come to kneeling and try not to use your hands. So you're going to push down into all 10 toenails and try to lift yourself. The first one will be a little bit challenging because you've been sitting in that position for a while. So just do your best and come to kneeling and push your hips forward, opening the hip creases. And then again, pressing into the tops of your feet, control the lower back down using the muscles at the front of the leg. And then drive into the top of the feet. Feel the engagement across the knees. Come up. If this bothers your knees, then have your hands on blocks and just modify. Don't go full range. Just use whatever part of the range feels okay for you. But the idea is I want you to engage the quads and engage the muscles that go across the knee so that this becomes a safer and more achievable position for you, that you own the entire range. We'll do one more. Sink the butt slowly and lift to kneeling. Okay, shake that out. Okay, for this next one, you may want your blocks for your hands to modulate the pressure in the toes. You may not need them, but I have them there just in case. Okay, so you're going to come to standing and touch your big toes. Lift all 10 toes off the floor and spread them far apart. Big toes touching. Okay, and then lay your toes down one at a time so that they're nice and spread out on the mat. And then you're just going to bring your knees to the mat, keeping the toes curled under. And this can be kind of a challenging pose, especially if you don't often stretch the bottoms of your feet. But make sure that your pinky toes are curled under as well. Sometimes they try not to be a part of this party. And then take your fingertips and push your heels towards each other. And then sit up tall. Now, if this is too much, you can place the blocks here and just kind of push into them, which will take some of the weight out of the feet. We're going to hold this for a minute. I recommend placing your hands somewhere that's comfortable if you're not supporting yourself on the blocks. Closing your eyes and just trying to revisit that calming breath. So stretching the bottoms of the feet in this way is actually our beginning to opening up across the calf muscles, across the ankle, because a big part of squat is the ankles. So if you don't have super good ankle dorsiflexion, then squat can be very difficult for you because it's hard to get the knees far enough so that the butt can sit down without you feeling like you're falling backwards. So, and the calf muscles start under the feet, cross the heel, and go up. They're attached there by connective tissue. It's all one line. Okay, we've got about 5 more seconds. Okay, good. Now, do bring your blocks next to your knees, even if you weren't using them. And you're just going to push yourself up and back so that your heels come to the floor. Try to sink your butt. So we haven't yet stretched much through the calves, so you may not be in your deepest expression of squat, but just start to visit it here. Get your butt nice and low. And then you're going to try to bring your knees back to the floor softly. You can also put padding under the knees if needed. And you may not need the blocks. So lean back and try to pull your knees away from the floor and then set the heels down. Squat a little deeper and then lean back again to bring the knees softly to the floor. We'll do 5 total. So here's 3. Here's 4. And here's 5. Okay, good. Now set your blocks aside. And bring your right foot to the floor. And you can either kneel on the left shin, or you can be a little more upright if your knee doesn't love you kneeling on, like sitting on your heel. So either way is fine. But I want the knee to track over the right toes, and then lean your knee as far forward as you can. And you'll start to feel like the heel wants to lift when you're at your maximum, okay? So don't let the heel lift. Drive the heel back down into the floor and keep trying to lean farther out over the right toes. Now we're gonna hold this for a minute, but I'm gonna give you stuff to distract you from holding it. So as you're leaning out over that foot, can you press the ball of your foot more into the floor without moving the knee out of flexion? So really driving the ball of the foot into the floor. You should feel stuff turning on at the back of the heel up into the calf muscle. Okay, now try to pull the top of your foot towards the front of your shin. You should feel the muscles at the front of the shin getting a little warm. And then push the ball of the foot into the floor. And then pull the top of the foot towards the front of the shin. And then release the effort and just kind of breathe and hold and see if you can lean a little further out over the right toes. About 5 more seconds. Okay, and we will switch. So bring your left foot to the floor. You can either sit on the right heel or kneel on the right knee, and bring your knee out over your left toe. So your knee should be lining up with those middle 2 toes, and go far enough that you feel like your heel might want to lift, and then drive the heel back into the floor. And we will hold. So after a couple of breaths of holding it, then we will press the ball of the foot into the floor. Really pushing and feeling the calf muscle turn on, feeling maybe the difference in the knee, that extra activation. And then pull the top of the foot to the front of the shin, as if you could pull the sole of the foot away from the floor. Really pulling, pulling, pulling. And then again, push the ball of the foot into the floor. Maybe you can lean a little bit farther forward. And then pull the top of the foot to the front of the shin. Pulling, pulling, pulling. And then release the effort there and just hold for a couple of breaths. Got about 10 more seconds. And release. Okay, now you may want your block for this next option. I'm going to come to Malasana. So come onto your feet. Have your heels a little bit wider than hip distance, toes turned out. And then pulling your knees out to the sides as you sink the butt. You may come all the way down. You may be up here, depending on your flexibility. And then we're just going to take a few breaths. A couple of my regular students You may need to have a chair, and that's fine too. You just have the chair underneath your butt, and you try to work your elbows in between your knees and try to bring your sternum to your thumbs and your thumbs to your sternum. If you're way down here, same thing applies. Press the hands into each other, pull your thumbs to your sternum and your sternum to your thumbs. And breathe. Now from here, can you find the ability to pull your knees away from your elbows? So even as you are pushing the elbows into the knees, it's almost like the knees don't want to hug from the elbows. You're trying to pull them out to the sides. If any of you have kids that don't want to hug certain relatives, it's kind of like that. And take some deep breaths. Okay, now even if you aren't sitting on a block yet, if you decide that you need one or two or a chair for this next little bit, that's totally fine. So you're going to bring your elbows away from your knees, and you're going to dip your right knee into the midline, rocking to the inner edge of your right foot. Only go as far as you feel comfortable in the knee, and then rock it out to the side, to the outer edge of the foot, and then rock to the inner edge of the foot and the outer edge of the foot. Inner edge, really trying to get that knee as far to the midline as you are comfortable. Out, in, pull it out. Last one, in, pull it out, and then return to center for a breath. Feel the difference in the two hips. And then we'll do that on the second side. So again, the option to sit on a block or more, and then roll to the inner edge of the left foot, outer edge of the left foot, really pulling it out to the side. Inner edge, outer edge, inner edge, outer edge, inner edge, outer edge. Last one, inner edge, outer edge. Return to center. Push your elbows into your knees. Pull thumbs to sternum, sternum to thumb, and pull your knees away from your elbows. Hold here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Place your fingertips on the floor. Drive into your heels and come to a forward fold. If you are sitting on a chair or blocks, move them out of the way. And just allow yourself to kind of ragdoll over your legs for a couple of breaths. And then, again, keeping your heels wider than hips, toes out just a little bit. We're going to flow a little bit with this movement, get some movement into it. So inhale, dip your butt, look forward. Exhale, driving your heels, coming to forward fold. Inhale, dip your butt, look forward. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Okay, heel toe your feet so that they are hip distance apart. And then tuck your tailbone and feel as though you could pull your belly button up towards the ceiling. And then try to roll up one vertebra at a time, but feel like you're lifting yourself from the belly button at the very first part of it. Roll up to standing. Inhale at the top. Exhale, tuck your chin. And it's as if you could roll yourself up into like a tight little fruit roll up. Rolling forward, as if you could touch your chin to your pubic bone. And you can have a soft bend in the knees. Exhale at the bottom. Inhale at the bottom. And then exhale, bend your knees, tuck your tailbone, lift from the belly button. Try to roll up through your spine. And exhale, tuck the chin. Roll all the way down. Inhale at the bottom. Exhale, pull the belly button to the spine. And then about halfway up, you'll start the inhale to stand. And exhale, rolling down. Bend your knees. Exhale to start the movement. And then inhale to come all the way up. Okay, for this next one, we're going to do another calf stretch. And sorry, I'll go to the front of my mat. You can do this stretch with by rolling up your yoga mat and then placing the ball of the foot on the mat and the heel on the floor. And that might be enough for you. You can roll your mat up more, like even up to all the way. Or if you have enough ankle mobility, you're going to use your block. Okay? And you'll place the ball of the foot on the block and the heel on the floor. And then you may need a chair for your hands, or if you're really not flexible, like if standing and doing this is enough of a stretch, you can have your fingertips on the wall, and that's fine. We're going to hold this for a minute. If you can, forward fold over that leg and bring your fingertips to the floor, bring your hands to the floor. Maybe you would add that extra. It just provides a little bit more pull on the back of the leg there, a little bit more stretch. And breathe. So now before we were working on the ankle and we had the knee bent, which means that we were working on more like the lower fibers of the calf muscle. Now you should be feeling this a little bit higher up in the calf muscle with the knee straight. And we're almost at the end. So press the ball of your foot into the block, but keep the heel on the floor. Press, 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 press. And then pull the top of the foot towards the front of the shin. Pull, 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 pull. And then release the effort and see if you can get any deeper into the stretch. And that's a minute. See how fast it flies? Okay, other foot. So whichever foot you just did, do the other one. Place the ball of the foot on the block, heel on the floor. You can bring your fingertips to the wall, a chair, or the floor. And just keeping the knee very straight, leaning forward into the stretch as much as possible. Notice if you are rolling to the pinky toe side of your foot, try to put equal pressure across the entire ball of the foot on the block or the mat. And then press the ball of your foot into the block or the mat, but don't come out of the stretch. So in this maximum range, you're pressing, you're using those muscles at their longest length. And then as if you could pull the top of the foot towards the front of the shin, that's using the front of the foot muscles at their shortest length, which is going to be handy in a squat. And then release the effort and just take a breath or two in the stretch, maybe getting farther. Then come up out of that, set your block to the side for now. Stand up on your mat and step your feet so that they're staggered, so that the right foot is in front of the left a little bit. And then just keep with straight knees. Can you externally rotate the right leg from the hip? And notice your quad turns on, and you probably feel the glutes turn on, but your knee, more importantly, points out towards the pinky toe. Okay, now bend that knee out over the pinky toe, and then roll it across all 5 toes until you're to the midline, as much as you are comfortable. And then straighten the knee. With the knee straight, externally rotate from the hip, bend the knee out over the pinky toe, glide it across the 5 toes to the midline, and straighten. Externally rotate with the knee straight, bend deeply, sweep it over the 5 toes, straighten. Externally rotate, bend, sweep it over the 5 toes. Feel the ankle working here, even as the knee gets its little warm up. Out over the pinky toe, across the 5 toes to the midline. Now pause with the hip internally rotated, so your knee is still pointing towards the big toe, and then bend the knee. Sweep it over the 5 toes, straighten the leg. Bend the knee. Sorry, that was out of order. Internally rotate, bend the knee, sweep over the 5 toes, straighten the leg. Internally rotate, bend the knee. Try to keep the hips pointing straight forward so they're not part of this party. This is all about the ankle and the knee. Last one on this side, and then shake that out. Maybe take a moment to feel the difference between the knees. Your right one may be buzzing a little bit. Okay. Step your left foot forward in stagger stance, and then externally rotate from the hip with the knee straight. Bend the knee, go way out over the pinky toe, and sweep the knee across the 5 toes. Trying to keep the entire foot planted on the floor as you work, and keep the hips square to the front of the mat. Externally rotate, bend, sweep across the toes, straighten. Externally rotate, bend, sweep, straighten. Last one, externally rotate in this direction, sweep and straighten. Keep it internally rotated, bend, sweep across the toes, straighten. Internally rotate, bend, sweep across the 5 toes, straighten. Internal, bend. 2 more. Okay, and then shake that out. Grab your block and bring it to between your thighs. Put it between your thighs. Sometimes yoga teachers get lost in the word salad. Put the block between your thighs. Squeeze the block and have your feet roughly parallel to each other. Keep squeezing the block as you start to bend your knees and send your butt back. So trying to keep the weight in the heels, keeping the heels firmly planted on the floor. Maybe the block there allows you to get the butt a little bit deeper. With your arms out in front of you, kind of counterbalances you. You can keep them there, or bring your arms overhead, Utkatasana. Now, as you are here, your legs are undoubtedly talking to you, but see if you can make this more about lifting, using your abdominals and lifting your torso up and out of your hips. So as you sink the hips deeper, can you get that sense of lifting your body out? Breathe deeply all the way down to the pelvic floor. And then drive into your heels and come to standing. Okay, set the block aside. So being able to squeeze the block teaches us to engage the pelvic floor in the squat, which in turn kind of balances the forces across the pelvis as we work. So now that you have gotten in touch with that feeling, I want you to see if you can find that even without the block between your knees. So again, heels hip distance, feet roughly parallel. On your inhale, sink your butt back. It's like as if you could corkscrew your feet into the floor as you are bending, as you are squatting low. See if you can find the engagement of the pelvic floor as if you were squeezing the block between your thighs. Okay, now bring your weight into your right foot. Try to stay as deep in the squat as you can and just lift the left knee away from the floor. And then return to Utkatasana, and then bring your weight to the left foot and try to just hug the right thigh in towards you. Deep in your squat, lift the left foot off the floor. Deep in your squat, lift the right foot off of the floor. We'll do 2 more each side. Ooh, yeah. I did say this was a squat class. Lift the right foot, deep in. Maybe you notice that you're getting a little deeper each time. The right foot. Deep in the squat, arms overhead, maybe for a breath. And then drive into your heels. I'm just standing. Okay, grab one of your blocks again. So that was a little bit of a, if you noticed, when you went to lift one foot, likely your pelvis shifted a little bit to accommodate the shift in load. And that's fine. We do that all the time in transitions in yoga. Let's get a little smarter about it, okay? So put the block on your mat. Stand so that actually let's use 2 blocks just to make this a little more efficient. We can do both sides. Okay, so stand in front of your blocks. And again, corkscrew your feet into the floor. Sink your butt back. Inhale, come to Utkatasana. Now bring your weight into your left foot, and you're going to step your right toes onto the block that's behind the right foot. Now, trying to keep both knees tracking straight forward, just rock your weight back and drive your heel into the block under the right foot. And then come to standing. Ooh. And then rebend through the right knee, set the left foot on the floor, and return to Utkatasana in front of the blocks. Press to stand. We're going to go side to side for a few of these. So Utkatasana, inhale, weight into the right foot. Ball the left foot on the block, staying really low through the hips, keeping the knees tracking straight forward. Just tip your weight back and drive your left heel into the block. Push into that heel, come to standing. Bend again through the left knee, trying to track it straight forward. Place the right foot on the floor. Step the left foot on the floor, sink the butt, Utkatasana. Inhale, come back to standing. Inhale. Step the right foot back. Rock your weight back. Drive into the heel to stand. Sink through the right butt. Through the right butt. I don't know. Step the left foot back, keeping the hips low. Drive the heel into the floor, into the block. Stand. Bend through the left knee. Set the right foot down. Come back to squat. Inhale. Exhale, stand. Inhale. Bring the weight to the left foot. Step the right foot back. Drive the heel into the block. Stand. Sink deep through the right hip. Step the left foot down. Step the right foot down. Inhale. And on the next inhale, Utkatasana. Step back with the left foot. Drive the heel in. Stand. Bend deep through the left knee, left hip. Right foot down. Left foot down. Inhale. Exhale, stand. Let's do one more each side. Inhale, Utkatasana. Right foot back. Stay low in the hips. Drive through the right heel, stand. Squat through the right heel, right hip. I have to stop talking. Inhale, Utkatasana. Left foot back. Drive into the left heel. Stand. Bend into the left hip. Right foot down. Sink the hips, Utkatasana. And stand. Shake that out. Shake out your shoulders. Notice that recruiting these big muscle groups, the glutes, the quads, it turns on the heat factory pretty quickly. So if you're sweating, that's how it's supposed to be. Alrighty, so let's have the blocks at the front of the mat. Actually, one block at the front, one block off to the side. Take a couple of breaths just to calm your heart rate. Maybe revisiting the imagery from the beginning of class. Lifting at the top of the inhale. Feeling grounded through the bottom of the exhale. Okay, step up onto the block with your right foot. And for a moment, just feel the connection between that right foot and the block. Feel gravity. Feel the effect of gravity traveling all the way from the crown of your head down through the right foot. And now can you find a way to bring a little bit of that line over to the left, even though the left foot is hovering and not on the floor. Okay, and then you can have a chair for your hands here. I should have said that before I had you step up on the block. So if balance is crazy for you, have a chair for your hands. Okay, otherwise, start to bend deeply through the right knee and send the left leg really far back behind you. Maybe trying to pause for a moment, feeling all the feels, and then step the left leg back. And then sink into the right knee. Now notice, if your right knee is way out over the toes, that's not an inherently evil position, but there's more of a connection between the ground and your hip when your heel is under your knee and your knee is in line with your hip, okay? So, if you are way out over your toes, take a bigger step back. You have more capacity, that means, in your back leg. Okay, bring your arms overhead. Spin your pinkies to the midline, thumbs out. And then bend your back knee and dip a little deeper and feel the effect, like driving through the right heel. So really find the strength from the right heel up through the right hip, and then straighten the back leg. Inhale, bend the back knee, dip a little bit deeper, keeping a long lower back, straighten the back knee as much as possible. Okay, bend the back knee, dip a little deeper, your right hip's probably talking to you right now, and then straighten through the back leg. Take a couple breaths here. Hug your front ribs in, pull your belly to the spine to lengthen the tailbone, lengthen the sacrum towards the floor. Okay, come up a little bit out of the bend in the right knee and just spin your back foot flat. So now you're more in warrior one, and then rebend through the right knee. Notice if you've taken a big enough step and maybe reevaluate the depth. And again, find the connection between the right heel and the right hip. Take a couple breaths here, maybe touching your palms overhead and gazing up. Pressing the left knee very straight, pulling the right hip back, left hip forward. Hugging your front ribs in. Good. And then bring your hands to your chest. Now here you have options. If you're flexible enough, keep your foot on the block. If you know that you struggle with touching your fingertips to the floor in a forward fold over a straight right leg, maybe step off of the block and use the blocks for your hands. Okay, so make your choice and then straighten through the right leg. Inhale, find cow spine, look forward, chest forward. And exhale, forward fold over that right leg. Maybe your fingertips make it to the floor. Maybe flat hands make it to the floor. Wherever you are, strong and straight through both legs. Engage the quads, pull the right hip back, pull the left hip forward. One more time, inhale, look forward, find cow spine. And exhale, forward fold over that right leg. Okay, look forward, rebend through the right knee, either foot still on the block or not. Try to drive into your right heel and come back to standing at the front of your mat. Set the left foot down and move your block over so that it is under the left foot. Again, take a moment here. Feel gravity, the line, the plumb line of your weight is mostly over the left foot. Feel that. Feel full connection between the left foot and the block. And then can you share some of that with the right side, even though the right side is hovering? Okay, either fingertips to a chair or maybe even the wall. Start to bend through your left knee. And try to get nice and deep, just like we did in the stepping back squats. And send your right leg really far behind you. And then step back. Keep the ball of the right foot planted. Evaluate whether you took a long enough step and adjust your stance accordingly. Drive your left heel into the block and feel the connection all the way up to the left hip. Bring your arms overhead, spin your pinkies to the midline, thumbs out. Inhale. As you exhale, bend through the right knee as deep as you can. And then feel the increased effect in the left hip. Stay that low. See if you can re-extend the right leg. Keeping nice long tailbone, so feel as though you're hugging your low belly in. Bend through the right knee, sink a little deeper. Maybe straighten the right leg any amount. Bend to the right knee, sink a little deeper. Keep finding the connection between the left heel and the left hip, and maybe straighten the right leg. Take a couple breaths here. Try to be strong and as straight as possible through the right leg, and feel the connection between the left heel and the left outer hip. Come up out of the left knee a little bit. Spin your right foot flat to the floor. Pull your left hip back, right hip forward, and rebend through the left knee, sorry. Keep the right knee straight. And again, feel as though you could pull the left hip back, right hip forward. Maybe put your hands together and look towards your thumbs. Hug your front ribs in. And then bring your hands to your heart, straighten through the left leg. You can either step off the block and use the block for your hands, or perhaps start to forward fold over the left leg. Keep pulling the left hip back, right hip forward, strong and straight through both legs. So inhale, cow spine, chest forward, and exhale, maybe fingertips, maybe palms come to the floor. One more, halfway up, inhale, pull your chest forward, and exhale, forward fold over that leg. Breathe deeply. And then come halfway up. Start to rebend through the left knee. And maybe you drive into the left heel and come back up to standing on the block. Step down off of the block. Collect your blocks and bring them to the long edge of your mat. So stand between your blocks facing the long edge of your mat. Bring your fingertips to touch and option to step or bend your knees and jump your feet nice and wide. Now, a good test for whether you've taken a wide stance that you can manage is to do a couple of little pelvic tilts. Can you find a little sense of freedom in your pelvis? If you can't, you maybe step too wide. And then spin your left toes in about 45 degrees and your right toes out 90 degrees. Bend deeply through the right knee. Notice if your knee's way out over your toes, just take a wider stance. Bring your arms out to a T and sink your left inner thigh towards the floor to even your pelvis out with the floor. There's a tendency to kind of do one of these. Don't do that. Sink your left hip towards the floor. Take a couple breaths here. Warrior two. Now see if you can find the connection between your right heel and your right hip. Can you feel the feeling of wrapping your right outer hip underneath you? And can you generate that force using the heel on the floor? Now bring your right forearm to your right thigh and reach over with your left hand and find your block. Now you can have the block on the highest level. For some of the foam blocks, that's not very stable. The medium level, the low level, or you may be able to bring your hand all the way to the floor. Okay, so I invite you to make your choice there. Press the left hand into the floor, drive into the right heel, and pull your left foot off of the floor. Now, you're going to sneak your left foot through and forward and sit down. And we're going to rehearse that a couple of times. So push into the left hand. So you may be way up here, okay? And then that would look like push into the hand and the right heel. So use the right hip. Don't make it all about the hand on the block. And come back to a warrior two stance, okay? Drive into your left hand, pick your left foot up, sit down and through. Maybe each time, drive into the right heel, come back to warrior two. Maybe each time you lower the block a little bit and see what you can handle. And then back. Maybe you try no block. Ooh, a little tougher. Find yourself seated. Hug your right shin in. Sit up nice and tall. Bring your right fingertips behind you. Bring your left arm overhead. Inhale. Exhale and twist to your right. Now you may just hug the knee or you may get your left elbow outside your right knee. Either way, sit up nice and tall. Inhale, get your spine longer. And exhale, twist. Complete the twist with your gaze, looking out over the right shoulder. Enjoy this little moment to stretch. And for this stretch, maybe allow the right knee to come a little bit across to the left so that you feel an increased stretch on the outer right hip. You're welcome. Breathe. Okay, now we got to go back the way we came. So find your block, or if you were comfortable with your hand on the floor, you can do that. Lean your weight forward over your left leg. Drive your right heel into the floor and try to use as much of the right leg as you can to step yourself back to a warrior two stance. Come up to warrior two. Breathe. Sink your hips. Inhale, flip your right palm over. And reach back. Try to stay strong and straight through the left leg. And then on your next exhale, maybe your right elbow finds your right thigh and you're happy here, extending the left arm overhead. Or maybe you find your block and place it for the fingertips. I'd like your hand inside your foot for this one. Maybe your fingertips find the floor. Sink your hips. Spin the pinky to the floor, thumb to the ceiling. Gaze up under your left tricep.
Wrap your right hip underneath you. Can you find connection between the right heel and the floor and feel it all the way up to the hip? One more deep breath. On your next exhale, just start to straighten through the right leg. Bring the left arm towards the ceiling, palm reaching up, and then push down into the block or the floor with the right hand and push the block or the floor to the right to open your chest a little bit more. Gazing up maybe, if that's okay with the neck. If not, otherwise, gazing straight forward or down at the floor. Long and straight through your torso, as if you could press the crown of your head to the front of your mat. And then just start to bend through the right knee, pass through warrior two, straighten the right leg, spin all 10 toes to the long edge of the mat, and switch sides. So right toes in about 45 degrees, left toes out 90. Bring your arms to a T and sink your hips. Make sure you're sinking your right hip towards the floor to try and even out a little bit those hip points with the floor. Bring the arms to the T. Find the connection between the left heel and the left hip. As if you could wrap the left hip underneath you using the ground force reaction through the left heel. Strong and straight through the right leg. Now you know where we're going. So bring your left forearm to the left thigh. Find your block. Maybe move the other one out of the way. Find your block. Maybe start on the tallest setting. Press down into the hand. Bring the weight into the left heel. Step your right leg through and forward. Sit down. Okay, drive into the left heel and the right hand. Maybe the left heel more than the right hand. And come back to a warrior two stance. Maybe lower the block. Drive, pick up the right foot, send it through, sit down. Pick it up, send it back. Maybe lower the block. Maybe not. It's okay. Drive into the hand and the heel, sit. Drive into the hand and the heel, step back. Maybe no block. Drive into the hand and the heel, step through. This time, sit down. Aha. Hug your left shin in, sit up nice and tall. Place your left fingertips behind you, lift your right arm overhead, inhale, get taller through your spine. Exhale, twist to your left. Maybe your right elbow finds the outside of your left knee, or maybe you're hugging the shin. Either way, inhale and get taller through your spine. Exhale, complete the twist with your gaze. Look over your left shoulder. Maybe start to push the left knee a little bit more to the right and find a bigger stretch for the outer left hip. Only if that feels good. And then come out of the twist. Maybe find your block if you need it, or just fingertips. Lean your weight over your right foot. Find weight in the left heel. Drive into the left heel. Return your right foot to warrior two stance. Come up for warrior two. Sink your hips towards the floor. Make sure you're sinking your right hip a little bit deeper. And bring your arms out to a T. Flip your left palm. Inhale, come back for reverse. Really strong and straight through that right leg. So maybe using your right hand to remind yourself, strong and straight. Breathe deeply. And then on your next exhale, bring either your left forearm to your thigh, or maybe a block to the inside of your left foot, or maybe your fingertips to the floor. Extend your right arm overhead, spin the pinky to the floor, thumb to the ceiling, sink your hips, and then press down into the left hand, push the left hand to the left, and spin your chest open. Can you find the ground force reaction between the left heel all the way up and the floor? Can you feel that all the way up to the left hip? Stay strong through the right leg. And then on your next inhale, start to straighten through the left leg. Bring the right arm towards the ceiling. And again, push down into the left hand. Push the left hand to the left. Spin your chest more towards the ceiling. And then press the crown of your head towards, like as if you could send it out over the left toes. And then bend a little bit through the left knee. Come through warrior two. Straighten the left leg. Spin all 10 toes to face the long edge of the mat. Fingertips to touch, bend your knees, step or jump. Back to center. Set your blocks to the front of your mat. And then stand. Bring your weight into your left foot. And bend your right knee and send your right knee out to the right. And start to trace your right toes at the inseam of your left leg. And when you get about as high as you can pull the foot authentically, then pull the right knee out to the side first. And maybe you just plant the foot right where it is. That's totally fine. Otherwise, reach down, grab the foot, and pull it higher up into the left inner thigh. Plant the heel first, and then spin the toes towards the left hamstring, as if you could kind of wrap the toes around the back of the left leg. And then push the left leg into the right foot, and the right foot into the leg. So find a bracing point there, and then pull your right knee out to the side. Bring your hands to prayer in front of your heart, and breathe. Finding even weight distribution across the left foot to the best of your ability. And then slowly start to release the right foot from the left inner thigh, but don't set it down yet. Cross the right ankle over the left knee. Pull the right knee down towards the floor as you start to bend through the left knee and come to this kind of, I think it's called pigeon squat. I've also heard it called temple dancer, all sorts of fun things. Spin the right pinky toe towards the floor, spin the right shin towards the floor, and then spin the right thigh bone open. Hands to prayer in front of your heart, or maybe you want to bring your arms out in front of you to counterbalance. Maybe you can sink the butt a little bit deeper. Breathe. And then come up out of the left knee a little bit. Cross the right knee all the way over the left knee. Maybe you can wrap the foot a second time around the left ankle. If you do, then do that. Otherwise, press the outer left ankle into the press the outer right ankle into the outer left calf or shin, whatever you've got, and then start to sink again through the left hip. If you'd like to, you can either keep the arms in front of you for counterbalance, or you can try eagle arms. Bring the right arm under the left. Maybe the back of the hands just touch. Maybe you can get the palms to touch. And then lift the elbows up as you sink the butt down. Squeezing the outer right ankle to the outer left calf. And then stand. Shake that out. Second side. Stand on your right foot. Bend your left knee, spin the left knee out to the left. Trace up the inseam of your right leg. And maybe stay there. Pull your left knee out to the side. Pull your left knee out to the side. Do that. Then maybe grab the ankle and pull the left heel up to the higher in the inner right thigh. And then plant the heel, find connection there, and then wrap the left toes towards the right hamstring. Stand up nice and tall. Keep pulling the left knee out to the left. Hands to prayer in front of your heart. Find something that's not moving to look at. And breathe deeply. Pushing the left foot into the inner right thigh. Pushing the inner right thigh equally back into the left foot. Now, slowly release the left foot from the right inner thigh and just cross the left ankle over the right knee. Spin the left pinky toe to the floor, left shin towards the floor, and think about spiraling the left femur kind of up and out as you sink the weight back. Maybe your arms come out in front of you, and breathe. Pulling the left knee towards the floor. Trying to sink the butt a little bit deeper. Come out of the right knee just a little bit. Cross the left knee over the right. Press the outer left ankle bone into the outer right calf. Maybe spiral and hook the foot behind your right ankle. You can either keep your arms out in front of you, try to sink the butt deeper, Or bring the left arm this time under the right. Maybe the palms touch. Maybe you're just kind of holding your fingertips. Maybe it's just back of hands. All of it's good. And then squeeze your legs together and lift your elbows. Sink the butt deeper. And then drive into the right foot, come to standing. Shake that out. Grab one of your blocks, place it between your thighs, and squeeze. Start to sink your butt towards the floor, and maybe you can sit all the way down. Squeezing the block, it might be very difficult to come all the way down. So however you do, just come as low as you can, and then set your fingertips on the floor, and sit gracefully. We're gonna do some ab work, yay! So you can do all of this work with fingertips behind you, that'll make it a little bit easier. Otherwise, bring your arms out to this in front of you, and hover your feet off the floor. Have your shins parallel to the floor, and then pull your feet out to the side, squeezing the block with your inner thighs, and pulling the heels out to the side. And then bring them back to neutral. Pull them out to the side, back to neutral. Here's 3, we'll go for 10. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. Lower down to what this is called Arda Navasana. Again, you can have your fingertips on the floor to help you here. Otherwise, we're going to do 10, tucking up, bend the knees, and pull the thighs towards your chest as much as possible. And then inhale, come back down to Arda Navasana. Exhale, tuck up. Inhale, exhale. Try to get yourself in as tight a little ball as you can at the top. Here's 5. Look, we're almost done. Here's 6. Smiling helps. Here's 7. Here's 8. Here's 9. And here's 10. Good. Set your feet down. Remove the block. And then bring your heels to the floor. Toes out, heels in. And just kind of walk yourself back to Malasana. Bring your elbows inside your knees. Find thumbs to sternum, sternum to thumbs. Push your hands into each other. So find your blocks and set one towards the front of your mat, where you'll be able to reach it if your feet were standing kind of roughly where they are now, and have the other block in your hands. Pulling your knees out to the sides as if you could pull them away from your elbows. Drive into your heels and stand. Okay, place the block in your right hand flat. Lift the block overhead and look up at the block. Now, keeping the block overhead, you're going to have to rotate, internally rotate probably at the shoulder as you come down, but pull the knees out to the sides and start to bend your knees and come towards Malasana. And see how my shoulder wants to internally rotate to keep the block up there as I come down. And that's kind of, allow that, that's fine. And then drive into the heels, pulling the knees out to the sides, lift the block back to the top. Okay, switch hands. Left hand overhead, look up at the block. Look at the block the entire time, pull the knees out to the sides as you squat. And then drive into the heels, come to standing. We'll do 2 more each side. Right hand, squat, drive up. Left hand, keep looking at the block. Try to get the butt as low as possible. Try not to let the knees cave to the midline. So keep pulling the knees out to the sides as you squat. Last one. Okay, and then bring the block to both hands and just bring yourself down to Malasana. Set the block at the front of the mat. And then try to do this without touching the floor. Come up part way, step up onto the block, and drive into the right heel. Come up to Warrior 3. Have your hands in prayer at your heart, or you may want to have your fingertips on the block, or even a chair. If this is feeling like the block is very far away, or you feel unstable here. But try to find a connection between the right heel and the right hip, lifting the left leg, spinning the left toes to the midline, left heel out. Inhale here. Exhale, get the crown of your head as if you could push it to the front of your mat. Okay, and then if you don't already have it, find your block with your right hand. Bend a little bit through the left knee and just start to stack your left hip on top of your right hip. So your hand is on your block and extend your left leg, left arm to the ceiling. So stay lifted, find the outer left hip, be strong and straight through both legs. See if you can open your chest, open your hip a little bit more. For me, a nice thought is as if I could take my right inner thigh and push it forward. That helps me to stack the hips. Breathe. Okay, now you may need to put a little bit of a bend in your right knee, and that's fine. Start to bring your left leg out in front of your face. What? Just try. It may be closer to the floor, that's fine. But try to keep it lifted. And then start to bend deeper through the right knee. Square your hips to the front of the mat. Maybe start to sink a little deeper. Oh, that right butt cheek's talking to you. And then bend the left knee and see if you can bring the left knee to behind the right ankle. Hold, breathe. And then step way back and you're going to open up to Warrior Two with your front foot on the block. Notice the difference. Sink into your right knee. Sink your left hip towards the floor. Breathe. And start to straighten through your right leg, and you're going to have to spin the right foot on the block, maybe lifting the toes towards the ceiling. Spin your left heel in a little bit, left toes out. Start to bend through the left knee. This is called Skandasana. It's a little bit different with your foot on the block. Reach your arms forward to counterbalance your body. You can have your fingertips on the floor if you need to. Breathe. Maybe trying to sink the hips a little bit deeper. Stay strong and straight through the right leg. Pulling the left knee out to the left. Don't allow it to cave. And then drive into the left heel. Return to the front of your mat. And you can either grab your block and use it for the left hand, or maybe you can reach the floor with the left hand. Square your hips with the mat. Push down into the left hand and open up for the twist. Pulling your right hip back. Squeezing your inner thighs to the midline. Try to pull the left shoulder out of your ear. And then turn to face the mat. Maybe placing both fingertips down, maybe doing this without any fingertips. Drive into the right heel. Step your left foot next to the block. Step off of the block with the right foot. Come back down to Malasana. Inhale here. Exhale. Take a deep inhale. Exhale. Pull your knees away from your elbows, engage your outer hips. And then drive into your heels and lift yourself out of Malasana just enough so that you can get your left foot to the block. And then drive into your left foot and come up for Warrior Three. So extend long through the right leg, spin the right toes to the midline, right heel out. Feel as though you're lifting that back leg from the inner thigh. You can have your hands on a chair or your block here if you need. Pulling the left hip back, squeezing the inner thighs, pressing the crown of your head forward. Now, if you didn't have the block, grab it, put it under your left hand, press down into the block with the left hand, and start to stack your right hip on top of your left hip, opening your hips to the right, and then extend your right arm towards the ceiling. Now, press down into the block and press the block to the left, and try to open your chest a little bit more towards the right. Think about pushing the left inner thigh forward to stack the hips a little bit more. Get long through your torso, through the crown of your head, and strong and straight through the right leg. Now, Maybe putting a little soft bend in your left knee. Start to bring your right leg in front of your face. Try to keep it as high away from the floor as you can. This is a super challenge pose. And then start to bend deeper through the left knee and bring the right leg in front of you. Maybe squatting a little bit deeper. And then bend the right knee. See if you can bring the right knee to behind the left ankle. Breathe. Arms can be in front of you for counterbalance. And then extend the right leg back, step really far back and open up to warrior two with your front foot on the block. Bend deeply through the left knee. Arms to a T. Gaze over your left fingertips. Strong and straight through the right leg. Feel the ground force reaction from the left heel through the left hip, pulling the left hip underneath you. And start to straighten through the left leg. Reposition a foot on the block so that you don't fall off. Spin your right heel in, right toes out. Start to sink your butt, maybe reaching your arms forward for counterbalance to Skandasana. Strong and straight through the left leg. Pulling the right knee out to the right. Don't let that cave. Use a few breaths, maybe sinking the hips a little deeper. And then drive into the right heel. And spin your left toes back to facing the front edge of your mat. Bring your right hand, either you can grab your block or bring it to the floor. Sink your hips, square them with the mat, push down into the right hand, and open up for the twist. Squeezing your inner thighs to the midline. Pressing down into the right hand, and press the right hand to the right to deepen the twist. And square yourself off with the floor. Drive into the left heel and just press into the left heel. Step your right foot forward. Step off the block with the left foot. Spin heels in, toes out. Drop your butt one more time. Pull thumbs to sternum, sternum to thumbs. And then pull your knees away from your elbows as much as possible. Take a few breaths. And then drive into your heels. And come out to standing. Okay. Now, bring your blocks again to the long edge of your mat. And stand facing the long edge of your mat. Bring your fingers to touch, bend your knees, and step or jump your feet moderately wide. So not super duper wide, moderately wide. Spin your heels in, toes out. And pulling the knees out to the sides, start to sink the butt between the heels. Try not to lean forward and stick your butt out. Try to stack your rib cage over your pelvis. It's harder that way. You have to really engage through the low belly. Keep pulling the knees out to the sides. Goddess pose. Kind of a very wide version of squat. So try to employ some of the same intelligence here. So find the connection between the heels up to the hips, pulling the knees out to the sides. One more breath. Okay, straighten a bit through the knees. Maybe widen your stance a bit. And let's just go side to side with that Skandasana. So come up onto the right heel and bend deeply through the left knee. Now try to stay really low through center. Come to the second side. Stay really low through center, pulling the knees out to the sides. Okay, and then finding really deep bend in the ankle at each side. So it is okay for the knee to go out way past the toes in this pose. Okay, that's kind of what you want. You're working the flexibility of your ankles. Okay, one more. Now this time, stay over to the right and just start to spin yourself towards the front short edge of your mat. Starting to spin all 10 toes to the right. So it'll feel like you're on the outer edge of your left foot and your right foot is pointing straight out to the right side of your mat. Now this is where you may want your block for your hand. So if you feel like this is like an impossible, like you need to be way up here, then use the block for that hand like so. Okay, you can have the block on any level, or your hand can be on the floor, okay? But you're spinning all 10 toes to the right side of your mat and then start to sink your left hip towards the floor. You can reach your right arm out over towards the back of your mat and just feel the nice stretch along that whole outer left hip line. And it's also kind of a nice stretch on the right hip. Maybe start to rock to the outer edge of your right foot and pull your right knee towards the back of your mat as well. Take a couple breaths here. Maybe your left hip comes all the way to the floor, but try to stay nice and straight through the right arm. Left arm. All right, and then spin yourself so that you're seated with the right foot crossed over the left knee, planted on the floor. Sit up nice and tall, hug the shin in, inhale here. And exhale, plant your right hands behind you and twist to the right. So you can hug the leg in or bring the left elbow to the outside. Complete the twist with your head. And then turn to face the front again. Move the right foot to the inside of the left leg. Plant the left fingertips on the floor. Reach up with the right hand. Inhale. Exhale, reach really far forward, trying to get your torso as far inside the right leg as you can. And maybe you find the foot. If the foot seems really far away, grab your strap and use it for the forward fold. Inhale, pull your chest forward. And exhale, fold over the left leg. Breathe especially into the space at the base of your spine on the right side here. Finding space there. And then inhale, come up. Recross your right foot over your left leg. Bring your left hand a little bit further behind you. Maybe you find your block as you start to spin to the outer edge of your left foot and plant the right foot on the floor. And then you're just going to spin yourself back up and around and find your Skandasana. So you may have to reposition the right foot. Totally fine. Okay, again, really low through center. Bring yourself to the left. Low through center, pulling the knees out to the side as you transition. Bring yourself to the right, and to the left, and to the right, and to the left. Okay, stay to the left. Find your block if you needed it. Otherwise, just start to spin all 10 of your toes to the left this time. Find yourself on the outer edge of your right foot, and you're planted with the left foot. Start to sink your right hip towards the floor, maybe reaching your arm out over your right leg. I get right and left all mixed up when I'm here. Maybe rocking onto the outer edge of the left foot and pulling the left knee towards the right foot. Breathe. Keep the right arm very straight. Maybe the right hip sinks all the way to the floor, but stay straight through the right arm. Pulling the left knee away from you. And then sit down on the mat. Spin to face your extended right leg. Hug your left shin in. Sit up nice and tall. Inhale here. Exhale, plant your left hand behind you. Extend your right arm overhead. And on your next exhale, maybe finding right elbow outside left knee. Complete the twist with your head. Breathing here. Inhales make your spine taller. Exhales twist you deeper. And then come out of the twist. Plant your left foot. Plant your left foot to the inside of your right leg. Plant your right fingertips on the floor. Inhale, reach up with the left hand. Exhale, reach far forward, really trying to work your torso inside the left thigh. Maybe grabbing the foot, maybe grabbing your strap. Inhale, pull your chest towards your toenails. And exhale, forward fold over your right leg. Inhale, come up out of that. recross your left foot over your right leg. Maybe trying to heel toe it closer to your hip, your outer right hip. Spin to the outer edge of your right foot and plant your left foot on the floor, okay? Maybe you need your block for this transition, maybe not. Just spin yourself back to Skandasana on the left. Come up through center, heels in, toes out. One more time through Goddess. Pulling the knees out to the side, inhale. Exhale. Come up a little bit out of it, heel toe your feet about 1 foot's distance in, and then again, sink the butt back and find kind of a narrower version of Goddess. Inhale here, exhale here. Come up out of it, heel toe in a little bit closer. Maybe the feet are a little more parallel this time. Sink your butt back, kind of like a wide Utkatasana. You can have your arms overhead too if you would like extra shoulder work. Come up out of that, heel toe in, a little bit closer, more like narrow hip distance. Sink your butt back. How low can you go? Come up out of it, bring your feet all the way to touch. You can have your heels parted about 1 inch, but have the big toes touching. And once again, find Utkatasana. This time maybe reaching arms overhead, pulling the weight of your torso out of your hips, and then drive into your heels and stand. Okay, bring yourself down to your mat. Move your blocks out of the way. And lie down on your stomach. Well, on your belly, I guess. Place your forehead on the floor and bring your hands by your hips. Palms face the ceiling. Thumbs are kind of grazing your outer thighs. Press all 10 toenails into the floor and engage your legs so that your kneecaps lift away. Press your pubic bone into the floor and then feel as though you could lift your belly button away. And that just really engages you all the way through the core here. On your next inhale, press the pubic bone more strongly into the floor, and then lift the legs away from the floor. Try not to lose that feeling of pulling the belly button away from the floor. Inhale here. Exhale, maybe lift the legs higher. Think about lifting them from the bikini line out through the toes. And then inhale, lift your shoulders and your head, and pull your hands towards the ceiling. So Shavasana, lifting the legs a little higher maybe, lifting the shoulders and the head a little higher. And then bend your knees and see if you can graze your ankles. If you can't touch, grab your strap, put it around your ankles so that you can hold it in your hands. Okay. If you can reach the ankles, grab there, thumbs down, pinkies up, flex through the feet, press the pubic bone into the mat and kick your feet into your hands to lift higher. Inhale, trying to undo a little bit of that hip flexion work here. And now keep a hold of your ankles or the strap, just set your forehead down. Take a little bit of a rest. On your next inhale, kick into your hands and lift everything up again. Really trying to lift all of the thigh away from the floor, but try to get that feeling as if you could pull your belly button away from the floor. Set your forehead and your knees down. Keep a hold of your ankles. One more. On your next inhale, kick into your hands and lift up. This time, pay a little extra attention to your knees. Are your knees flaring out to the side? Pull them to the midline and try to make yourself a narrow bow. Lifting the thighs away, kicking into the hands. Inhale and exhale. Lower down. Bring your arms out to a T. Bend your right knee. Lift your right thigh away from the floor and start to twist. Try to bring, it's kind of hard to say, I guess, twist to your right, but your right foot is trying to find your left hand. Now, send your tailbone long, even as you try to find the hand with that right foot. May or may not happen. It's not really the goal, it's just the effort. And now try to pull your right shoulder a little more towards the floor, deepening the twist. And then roll through center. Bend the left knee, lift the left thigh. Send the left foot over towards the right hand. And then see if you can sink the left shoulder towards the floor. Make your tailbone long. And that might actually, counterintuitively, help you get that foot further back there. Trying to sink your left shoulder to the floor. Trying to drop now into more of a Shavasana state of mind. And then square your hips with the floor. Stack your hands under your forehead. And just kind of rock your hips back and forth. Get a little bit of a restful feeling there. And then bring your hands under your shoulders. Press up onto your hands and knees. And sit down on your mat. Bring your right foot into your left inner thigh and place your right knee on the floor. So push your foot into your inner thigh and drive the right knee into the floor. Engage strongly through the left leg. Inhale, get nice and tall, face to the left leg. And do a little bit of a cow spine here, so feel as though you're arching through the back, sending, puffing your chest forward. And then just start to crawl your way forward towards your left foot. If you need a strap here, grab your strap. Otherwise, grab the left foot, pull the foot towards you, inhale. And then exhale, forward fold over your left foot, deepening the clasp as appropriate for you. Staying strong through the left legs. If you could push the back of the left knee into the floor, and then push the right knee into the floor. See if you can pull the right knee away from you a little bit. Come up out of that. Inhale. Exhale, extend the right leg and bend the left knee. Plant the left foot to the inner right thigh. And arrange yourself, pressing the left knee down towards the floor, using the outer left hip muscles, trying to face the right leg. Inhale. Puff your chest forward. And on your exhale, just start to walk yourself forward over the right leg, maybe grabbing a strap if you need it. Inhale again, pull your chest towards your toes. And exhale, forward fold over the right leg. Pressing the left knee down and away from you. Pressing the back of the right knee into the floor. Come up slowly out of that. Bring the soles of your feet to touch. And you can have your fingertips behind you. You can also sit up on a block for this if you feel like you're really holding on for dear life. Fingertips behind you at first just kind of allow you to find a sense of cow spine. And then pull your knees towards the floor. So even as you pull your knees towards the floor, see if you can get more of the sole of your foot to face the ceiling. So you're pushing the outer edge of the foot together and trying to open your feet up towards the ceiling. Take one more breath here. And then if appropriate, maybe take your hands around your feet, press the pinky toe edge of your feet into your hands and use that contact point to pull your knees even more towards the floor. And then pull your belly button towards your heels. Maybe bring your elbows in front of your shins and use that contact point to traction your spine forward. Chest forward, inhale. And exhale, forward fold over the legs. And come up out of that. Extend your legs out to the sides. Wide. So if you need to push down into the floor and scoot your butt forward to get your legs a little wider, do. And then drive the back of both knees into the floor. Engage strongly through the legs. Fingertips to floor in front of you. Pull the floor towards you, find cow spine. And as you exhale, try to keep the cow spine as long as you can as you walk the hands forward any amount. So you may be way up high, and that's totally fine, but keep that sense of cow spine, that sense of pushing your tailbone behind you. Pressing the back of the knees into the floor. And then once you've gotten as deep as you are going to go today, allow your head to drop. Keep pulling the pinky toes out to the sides, pressing the back of the knees into the floor, active through the legs. Breathe all the way down into the pelvic floor. And then press into your hands. Walk yourself back up. Bring your legs out in front of you. Pull your flesh out of the way from underneath you so your sit bones are in contact with the floor. We'll just do a very quick forward fold. Pull your chest forward and drape yourself over your legs, keeping cow spine as long as you can as you pull forward. And then at the very last moment, you can allow your head to bow. And then keeping your head nice and heavy, just start to roll yourself onto your back for Shavasana. If you prefer to take Shavasana on your own, you may. Otherwise, I will rouse you after about 3 or 4 minutes. So extend your arms out to the sides, palms face the ceiling. Tuck your chin slightly to get nice and long through the back of your neck. And find your shoulder blades flat to the floor. So if you need to rearrange your shoulder blades so that they feel in firm, grounded contact with the floor, do that now. Heels wider than hips and toes falling out to the side. Take a deep inhale and hold it at the top. As you exhale, sigh it out. Let everything go. Let's do one more like that. Inhale deeply. Hold it at the top. And as you exhale, sigh it out. Let everything go. And drop in.
Allow your next inhale to be a little bit deeper. Start to make small, familiar movements with your fingers or toes. Deepening your breath and gradually reaching your arms overhead and stretching long on your mat like you've just woken up from a lovely dream. Gather your knees into your belly and roll onto your right side. Pause there, maybe pressing your third eye center into the earth in a gesture of gratitude for this practice and in a grounding of your intuition. Press into your left hand. Bring yourself up to a comfortable seat. Bring your hands to prayer in front of your heart. With your next inhale, lift your heart to the sky. And exhale, bow your head to your heart in gratitude, sealing in your practice. Blink your eyes open. Namaste.